All right, we're back in the normal recording space. And today's video is fresh off the press that is my brain. And I just thought of this today. I was listening to Ruslan interview a guy working for Logos Bible software. And they were talking about just generative AI in general and kind of talking about some hot news stories where people got fed into delusions because the AI just kept feeding them down that path. And they talked about Logos Bible software apparently has this new function, which I will test in front of you. I haven't looked at it yet, called Study Assist. And it's built off of AI tools also, but it has more constraints where it's supposed to just look at tools and sources that are on Logos, the Bible software, like within it, regardless of if you own them or not, by the way, which is helpful. Though, if it cites something, you'd have to buy the source to look at anyway. And if you just go on the internet and you go to ChatGPT and you start asking it stuff, it's kind of designed to please you. It wants to please the user, make the user happy, get the user what they want. And it's kind of designed also to like feed into what like your thought process. Like if you're Protestant, it will probably feed you Protestant ideas. Sometimes I think it will also push back, but that's kind of how we get into this place where people are getting fed delusions and they just keep going down like delusional rabbit holes. Um, and I have a few thoughts on those statements too. Like one of the biggest questions I have when we talk about how AI makes people delusional and ruins critical thinking, I'm like, definitely can. Like, I'm not saying it can't. I've watched some interesting videos on that. But my question is, if people use anything with critical thinking, is that a safeguard for delusion? Or do we have to rely on like the tool to do that? You know what I mean? Like this becomes a bigger issue of like I think just people in our day and age and having critical thinking skills. And I'm not saying people are stupid. That probably is what it sounds like, but that's not what I'm trying to say. It's just like I have a really critical mind, which is also not to my benefit because it's hard for me to be optimistic about some things and places where I need to just have faith really challenging for me. Isn't always helpful, specifically in a world that doesn't always follow like logic and evidences that I have accessible. Anyway, but the same kind of way that you can use when I ask AI a question, I'm critical of the answer it gave me. Like I have an answer I expect. Then when it gives me an answer that I don't understand, I ask follow-up questions and I want sources to the answer it gave me. And if it's wrong, I tell it that. And I have like alarm bells of like critical thinking going off in my head of like, that kind of sounds weird. It seems like it glossed over this or it glossed over that. And I ask those questions and sometimes it did gloss over something and I called it out. Like, do normal people not have that going on in their head? And I'm not asking that in a facetious way. I genuinely want to know, does that not go on in your head? Because that kind of thing is not just dangerous with AI, it can also be dangerous just with people. Like if you have a manipulative leader that says something, is your brain not kind of processing and filtering what they think? And to some extent, you can overfilter and overburden yourself. And maybe I think sometimes I feel that way where it's like, why do I feel like every single thing that's said by, this pastor, I can't just take it at face value and trust them, which is like, I don't know that that end of the pendulum is always good. But I think the same kind of people that can be fed into a delusion by using AI are also the same kind of people that can be fed into a delusion just by not questioning people and assertions. I don't know. I don't know if you have different thoughts. But I do think like people lead into like why I should then have guardrails for people that are susceptible, specifically like kids and stuff, for sure. Anyway, all of that being said, what I found interesting about the Logos Study Assist, which I haven't used, but just people talking about it, As someone who works with, I use technology a lot, I use AI a lot. I use it daily, whether for work or for personal things, daily interacting with it. What's interesting is that the way they describe it, it almost feels like they describe its design as if it's just a generative AI agent. And if you're not in the world of AI, you're like, what is an agent? And the best way I can kind of describe it, because I don't know that I have the best definition of it, is that an agent is like you're using an AI model and engine, but you're giving it a specific purpose, you're giving it specific questions to ask, and like a specific audience to speak to, and you're generally giving it a specific set of sources to use. And why I would use that is like if I if I have people that have a lot of questions on how to like find something on different screens, and I have lots of documentation of every single thing I've developed, I don't necessarily want them just using AI on everything because it's going to be, you're going to have to weed through information that isn't helpful. Versus if I make an agent, I can say, just look at this folder of documents I have on screens and help them find it on screens. It kind of like defines the purpose, kind of like focuses the energy and the purpose and like what it's looking at. That's what Logos Bible Assist sounds like to me. So I bring that up because the concern people have with AI and feeding into delusions, I wonder if it could be solved. If it's not going to be perfectly solved, but I wonder if part of the problem could be alleviated and we could see a lot of help from using like generative AI agents. And why do I even think about that instead of just going with Logos Bible Assist? My concern, it's not really a big concern, but the first thing that comes off of my head when it's like Logos Bible Assist, that sounds great. I think you should use it. I think I will use it. I don't think it's a bad thing. Don't hear me say that. But it feels a little weird to me because then I'm constricted to my entire Bible study because I'm probably not using several different apps and their Bible Assist for my Bible study. If I use Logos Bible software, I'm going to just use that one's Bible Assist. Like, that's probably how it's going to be used. And, sorry, brief interruption, but if I just use their Bible software, then I'm getting a bias based off of what is available in Logos, which is a lot of stuff, and maybe that's not bad. But my brain thinks about that, okay? That's where I think I'm like, I'm limited now in my ability to ask these theological questions based off of what's in Logos and what Logos thinks is valid. And I think I usually agree with like their documents. I'm definitely not shooting them down. But I wonder what it would look like to create a Bible Assist agent in other generative AI engines and just compare how they work. Because I really have a lot of luck and help using like general agents for Bible study help, for questions, and for processing some things. And I like that it has access to a lot of historical documentation, whether it aligns with like where I've ended up denominationally or, you know what I mean? Like, I might be more Protestant and, maybe Baptist leaning, but I think it's helpful if I have the documentation of like the Catholic tradition and even the Eastern Orthodox and these, I kind of feel like I like the idea that I have access to more information than just my denomination. And I think there's a use case too to Bible Assist just being a specific set of sources. So don't hear me say that that's bad. I think that has a great use case and it's helpful. And one great thing too is that within that you can share links of the conversation and then the person that receives that link will see the whole conversation. And I don't know that that's always accessible in like for a long time it wasn't in ChatGPT. I don't know if it is even now, which was often frustrating because I had a conversation I wanted to share with someone and I couldn't do that easily. So I think that part of it's cool too. But that's the premise of this video. Long introduction. It's going to take me a long time to film. I don't think it will be multiple videos, but it might be. But it will definitely be multiple recording sessions. We're going to take Logos Assist and we're going to go mess around in it. That's what we're going to do. Maybe that's a separate video. We're we're going to make a list of a bunch of questions to test these Bible Assistant agents, AI, whatever. And we're going to see how it responds in Logos. We're going to see how it responds in CoPilot, ChatGPT, and Claude. I'm not using Grok because I've never even touched Grok and I don't have any intention to, just because I don't want to, really. And then we're going to make agents in each of those AI and also compare it. And so I just think it would be fascinating to see how all of the outputs compare and what I like and don't like about them. So that's what we're into for this video. All right, so I made a super scientific Google sheet, not Excel. And we have all the questions listed here in their categories. I don't know why I did that page separately, but I also made one here. And then we're going to rate everything on a score of 1 to 10. And at the end of this, I'm thinking we can like mathematically compare them. Um, 1 would be in this case, I'm saying 1 is bad, 10 is great. So we're going to rate the number of sources it gives us. I'm just going to rate that on like how many things did it say versus did it give us sources with. I'm also going to rate that on did he quote the sources as they were like used, or are they made up, or are they random? Did it explain the answer it gave? And does the answer make sense? And some of these questions, I didn't actually read this all the way through. I look at this and I'm like, I don't know what nefesh means, or dichotomous, or trichotomous, but we will ask in we'll ask what that means when we get there. And I thought about doing an incognito mode, asking all these things, but I think I would run out of free prompts. So I think because I'm logged in, I might still run out of free prompts. I don't know, because then like there's no way for me to do it in Claude. I guess I wouldn't want to present a bias if I did it in Claude incognito and then I had the agent in Claude. Um, because it's going to be biased to who I am, the agent is. So I'm going to give all of them the equal bias of like I've used all three at different times for Bible studies. So that's not super scientific, but we're just going to acknowledge that and move on. All right. Shocking, but I'm going to have to stop the video right here. I realized as I got on into the studies that it would just take too long to do every single assessment in this video. So this first video here is just the lead up and the design of the testing that we'll do in future videos. But watch for those videos to drop. We're going to assess CoPilot, ChatGPT, Claude, Claude Agent, and Logos Bible Study Assistant. And we will see which one is the best Bible study assistant.